This could be perfect as we're talking about the Rams potentially drafting an elite quarterback in this year's draft. We're also talking about Puka Nacua and what he had to say, throwing some shade at a division rival potentially, depending on how you see it. All on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron. Remember, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, press that subscribe button now, as roughly 70.8% of you guys are watching the videos, but you're still not subscribed to the channel. Do me a favor, press that subscribe button so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. Hope you guys enjoyed the new co-host here on the channel, Josh. I really appreciate him coming in, making some videos every now and then. Hope you guys enjoyed his content. Hopefully we can kind of get together moving forward in the future of the Rams Digest. But first things first, we're talking about Jalen Milroe and how this could potentially be a perfect draft pick for the Rams. Now, of course, I do want to, again, always reiterate that you never really know what's going to happen with any of these draft picks. But when we're talking about Jalen Milroe, I'm starting to feel more and more like I want this player to be on the Rams. And also starting to feel like maybe Jalen Milroe may be a Ram, right? Sooner rather than later, as we're talking about him discussing, hey, he had a meeting with the Rams. Alabama Jalen Milroe says he had a great meeting with the Rams ahead of the draft. And so overall, I'm not saying that him saying there's a great meeting going on means all of a sudden he's going to be drafted by the Rams. But I do want to say that this is kind of another, key point here. He is saying, hey, I had a great meeting with them. Excited to play for any team. Excited to play for any team, including the Rams. It may be open to the opportunity of possibly playing behind Matthew Stafford. And in all honesty, it's just kind of interesting, right? There's a lot of talk around different quarterback prospects in this year's draft class. But typically when these classes are this way, and in my opinion, right, when you don't really have the top heavy quarterback class there can sometimes be, right, in terms of recent mock draft memories, right, or recent draft memories in general. So I think when those drafts go that way and it's kind of very ambiguous as to who's going to be the best quarterback in that class, well, it tends to be a guy who gets drafted a little bit later, and that's kind of where Jalen Milroe is. Here's what Jalen Milroe first had to say about his meeting with the Rams. He says, I just met with the Rams, great meeting with them. No matter what team it is so important just to talk ball with them, get an understanding of how I view X's and O's, and the process of it is big. The meeting went well, every one of them I leave out, and they leave out so impressed with me. And in all honesty, he is being honest about this, because Jalen Milroe has quickly gone from, if you guys didn't know, back when he was first playing college, in his college career, early in his college career, a lot of teams had him as potentially being a top first-round draft pick in the future. Now, after some of his kind of hiccups and mistakes, and maybe just kind of the obvious, I guess you could say, need to kind of fine-tune some of his throwing motions, whatever you want. I'm not really a football coach in terms of breaking down what it is, the issues Jalen Milroe is having, but he needs to become better as a passer, more consistent as a passer. And when that became a little bit more apparent, all of a sudden the talk kind of shifted to him possibly going later in the draft. After these meetings, after you see his athleticism, his 4.4 40 speed at the quarterback position, you see what he can do with his legs. For some reason, he is now creeping up draft boards again. And I think he is kind of saying, hey, look, I'm going in there. I'm showing that I understand football. I understand the X's and O's. I think all these meetings are going well because, in his opinion, he is impressing all of these teams. And all of a sudden, he went from being a potential third, fourth round pick in what we were talking about earlier in mock drafts recently to now potentially, I heard the most recent rumor is maybe even as early as the 21st pick in the first round to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We heard they're interested in Shedeur Sanders. If Shedeur Sanders is there at 21, for example, Pittsburgh rumored to be very interested in Shedeur Sanders or a quarterback in general. And so if that's the case for Jalen Milroe, as much as I do like him and I'm excited about the prospect of possibly getting him, it's interesting. He may now all of a sudden go in the first round 26 pick of the draft for the Rams. Not saying that that's going to happen, but it seems like if the Rams want him, they may have to take him with that pick because he is rising up draft boards, it seems like, at least in recent conversations. Here's some quotes, more conversation coming from Cameron DeSilva of the Rams Wire. He says, Milroe is unquestionably the best athlete in this year's class of quarterbacks, running a 4.4 40 in the 40-yard dash. He's a true dual threat quarterback, but he does need time to develop as a passer, right? Talking about those issues that he's having as a passer, great with his legs, issue as a passer. The Rams could give him that opportunity to sit and learn behind Matthew Stafford for a year or two if they draft him, which not every other team can offer. He threw for 5,678 yards in the last 2 seasons with 39 passing touchdowns. Pretty good numbers there. The 17 interceptions, a little bit on the higher side, but still pretty solid numbers in general, averaging an impressive 9.4 yards per attempt. He did a lot of damage on the ground with 726 yards rushing and 20 touchdowns last season alone. And so overall, he is, again, average maybe so far right now at this moment in time as a passer. Very, very borderline elite as a runner, running the football with the ball in his hands. And so overall, very intriguing prospect. He could possibly be the perfect prospect for the Rams. Again, we're talking about this new era of Sean McVay. We're talking about Sean McVay potentially going into television, right? Not even coaching the Rams anymore. One thing that could really intrigue Sean McVay to stay in Los Angeles and stay coaching football for the Rams could be him getting a quarterback like Jalen Milroe, all of a sudden completely changing what he can do as a coach on the offensive side of the ball, right? He's always been a very creative coach, but he's dealt with guys who are less on the mobile side of things since he's become the head coach for the Los Angeles Rams. Could he come in with a Jalen Milroe and all of a sudden get excited about the prospect of, fine-tuning his passing ability, but also, kind of including those, mobile kind of run plays, run options as a quarterback in the offense in general from Sean McVay's perspective? That could be very intriguing for Sean McVay in general. You guys let me know how you guys feel. What are you guys thinking about this whole scenario? Do you like Jalen Milroe? Do you not? Do you want to draft him? Do you want to draft him that early? How are you guys feeling about the quarterback position in general right now in terms of the draft class this year? Or do you want to avoid it altogether? Because, again, it doesn't feel like it's that strong of a class at the moment. So let me know how you guys are feeling down in the comment section below. Next up, throwing shade. Is that what's going on here? We're talking about Puka Nacua and what he had to say on Julian Edelman's podcast about a division rival, essentially. We're talking about Puka Nacua believes 49ers window closes if Brock Purdy makes more than $50 million per year. Now, this is coming a little bit late. We did have conversations about the podcasting about a week and a half ago or so. So a few episodes ago, we discussed this already a little bit, talking about the podcast in general and Puka Nacua's appearance on that podcast. But we didn't really dive into everything that Puka talked about. And for some reason, this story is being brought up. And so Puka Nacua, at some point in the podcast, if you guys haven't heard it, he essentially brings up, hey, if Brock Purdy, the question was posed to him. He's not just throwing shade out of nowhere, but the question was posed, hey, about Brock Purdy. If he's going to make that, is he going to start with a 5? Is his number going to start with $50 million, or what is the number looking like for Brock Purdy's contract? And Puka Nacua says, I think no. I think mid-4s, talking about like $40 million. I think he seems like a smart guy. They have a chance to still be in their window, and I think if he goes for a 5, $50 million plus, then the window closes, right? Question mark. He's asking Julian Edelman in this scenario. And so overall, it is a very intriguing point that Puka Nacua is making. I always love that Puka is kind of this open player who wants to kind of just give his honest opinions about anything, even including a division rival. I think he might be right when we're talking about Brock Purdy. But it's not even just, I think, a shade thing at Brock Purdy specifically as a quarterback. I think he's saying, hey, look, for example, right, Julian Edelman, right, is in the picture. So, for example, Tom Brady was signing for $25-30 million when he could have got maybe twice that at times. So maybe not twice, but he could have got a lot more money than he was asking for out of the Patriots for many, many years, because I think he understood, hey, if I ask for X amount of money, X percentage of the money, I am no longer going to have a Super Bowl winning team, which is why he was able to eventually win 7 Super Bowl championships. And so I think if you're Brock Purdy, you want to win at least one, right? And you have not been able to get over that hump yet. Brock Purdy, as good of a quarterback as he has been at times, I know it's not easy for Rams fans to admit that, but as a quarterback, you have to sign for a little bit less if you want to continue to play with really good to great players. That's what Brock Purdy seems to need, even with great players. They haven't really gotten over the hump, right? But overall, you need that to compete, and I think Brock Purdy needs to obviously consider taking less money so he can play with better talent around him, so he can be supported and continue to be a good quarterback for a long time. He's not necessarily a quarterback you would see carrying a complete offense, right? Just off of his pure talent alone. So very intriguing there. I don't think much shade from Puka's side. He's always seems like a pretty innocent guy. He's just kind of being honest about a division rival. May rub some 49ers fans the wrong way, but I think a very honest and kind of maybe even true opinion coming out of Puka Nacua in this situation. Moving on to that, last but not least, trivia of the day. My favorite part of the episode where I ask a trivia question. You guys give your trivia guesses down below in the comments. If you guys missed last trivia episode of the day, I actually made a huge mistake last episode. I don't know if anyone noticed it. But I asked this question here. I said, what former 49ers receiver won the long jump at the 2012 U.S. Olympics to qualify for the Olympic Games in London? So I want to apologize. Definitely my mistake. My bad. Because I was thinking of one of their receivers being the option Anquan Boldin. That was in my mind. I was thinking of Anquan Boldin. I had just read Anquan Boldin. So I said Marquise Golden. I meant to say Marquise Goodwin. Some of you guys were able to ignore that and remember or notice who I was actually trying to talk about. But yes, I meant to say Marquise Goodwin, not Marquise Golden. So I apologize if anyone put Golden, and the guesses down below. We'll see right now, I guess, in the comments. But what 49ers wide receiver won the long jump at the 2012 U.S. Olympic trials to qualify for the Olympic Games in London? I thought a very intriguing question, even though it was posed as obviously a 49ers question, right? But we had JMH saying Marquise Goodwin, so he got who I meant in that scenario. The Road J Will didn't mean to throw you off. You did say Golden ? I appreciate you for just listening to what I'm saying, actually, and showing that you're listening to what I'm saying, because you even got the trivia right, but technically wrong because of my mistake. So I'm gonna say this is right. The Road J Will, you've been killing it with these trivia of the days, and you're clearly not Googling the answer because you even made my mistake in your comments. So I appreciate you playing along. Honestly, the Road J Will, and following along what I said. I'm giving you credit for this one being correct. It was Marquise Goodwin. And then we had Floyd saying Crabtree. Incorrect. Not Michael Crabtree. It was Marquise Goodwin. And the reason why I said last episode as well, the hint of the episode was if you know these players, you can probably guess who it was, because Marquise Goodwin, for those who don't remember, was an incredible all-around athlete. I thought very obviously a guy who can do something like this versus like the Anquan Boldens of the world, the Michael Crabtrees of the world. As great as athletes as they are, don't get me wrong, they're incredible athletes. Just speed, raw athleticism, I think Marquise Goodwin had them all beat, all the options, right? It was Goodwin, Crabtree, Dante Pettis, and Anquan Boldin. He was the speediest, kind of more just like track style type of athlete that I think than I think the other guys were. So that kind of is a little sneaky hint there. So I appreciate you guys playing along, not getting mad at me for making my mistake or not calling me out on my mistake. I really appreciate it. For those who missed out on that trivia of the day, I have a trivia of the day today. If you want to play along, get a shout out on the next episode, just give a comment to this question here. Before going on to coaching fame in the NFL, Vince Lombardi was one of the 7 blocks of granite as a lineman at what college? What an incredible nickname, by the way, for an offensive lineman. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman. I think that might be defensive lineman, actually, because it's the 7 blocks of granite. Overall, Vince Lombardi was one of the 7 blocks of granite as a lineman at what college? Here were your multiple choice options for this question here. Was it A, Yale? Was it B, John Carroll University? Was it C, Fordham University? Or D, Notre Dame? Give your guesses down below in the comments, whether you're right or whether you're wrong. We'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Before going on to coaching fame in the NFL, Vince Lombardi was one of the 7 blocks of granite as a lineman at what college? Again, A, Yale, B, John Carroll, C, Fordham, or D, Notre Dame. Give your guesses down below in the comment section. Other than that, that's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. If you guys are not subscribed, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss any daily Rams content. That's going to do it for me. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I am out.